I went outside to record this, but anybody coming from Instagram or YouTube Shorts, thank you for clicking the link or the recommended video. This interview is with Tommy Cuozzi, a MMA fighter who is undefeated 8-0, and he will be fighting on the Dana White Contender Series for a UFC contract. So there's a lot of good questions in it. Again, thank you for clicking the link on Instagram or YouTube Shorts, whatever it may be.
I'm ready when you are, man.
All right. Well, thank you again for spending some time, and allowing me to interview you for the channel, bro. Um, so, are you excited? How do you feel about August 19th?
I'm very excited. It's the point that a lot of fighters dream about getting to. I feel blessed. I feel like this is an opportunity that not a lot of people get to experience, so I'm, soaking it all in, being thankful in every situation.
You've spoken recently about your relationship with God. How do you feel um, your relationship with God has helped you in your career and your successes in your career?
I think God has a plan for everything. And I'm not saying he's up there, going win, but at the same time, it's you just got to trust in his plan. And if I'm supposed to be here, then he's brought me here. I
Yeah.
think he's blessed me with a lot of people in my life, a lot of opportunities that have allowed me to get to this point. And if it's his plan for me to go further, then we're gonna take that where it needs to be.
Now, how do you feel about your opponent?
Uh, Good all around. I think this will be my toughest challenge. He's solid striking, solid groundwork. He's got wins in about every scenario you can get a win in. But yeah, he'll be tough for sure. We're going in. Everybody, of course, plans to win. Everybody goes in. We're hoping to win, but whatever happens, happens. I'm gonna square off against a monster in there. Both of us have O's at the end of our record, and at the end of the day, one of us is gonna have a one.
So, how do you feel considering that he's been a part of a one night tournament where he won the tournament and he had two finishes in that night? How do you feel going into that? Is that a little bit concerning?
I wouldn't so much say concerning. It means his cardio's there.
Yeah.
Not only his skill level, but his cardio's there going into that. But our gym focuses heavily on cardio, not solely cardio, but we're not just out here drilling techniques. We're killing it every single day. By the time I leave the gym, I'm limping out, waddling out. So it's cardio is not much of an issue for me. So that part alone doesn't worry me. But I've been studying up on that. He performed well throughout that. Like I said, not only cardio, but it went to show that his skill level was there as well. I think it's gonna make it a fun fight. I want a game opponent, and now we're here.
Now, is there a specific game plan going into the fight? I don't want to give away your game plan or anything like that, but is there something that you've seen, something that he does in his fights that you're going to capitalize on?
There's a few things here and there that I'm starting to work on. I don't want to go into too much detail, but in short, the game plan is to win and impress the big man, impress Dana White. So full send for 1 to 15 minutes,
Uh-huh.
and that's all we can do. We drill, we practice, we do everything we can in training, and then when it comes to the fight, you've got 15 minutes to show what you've done over the last 3.5 months. So it's like I said, it's a full send. Go in, and if you don't go all in, it's going to be an issue.
So, previously, correct me if I'm wrong, you have been fighting on battlegrounds, correct?
Right, yeah, Ultimate Battlegrounds.
How do you feel about the regional scene here in North Carolina as far as MMA?
I'm gonna go ahead and tell you, between North Carolina and Virginia, and I'd even say South Carolina, there's some monsters up and coming. There truly, there's a lot of opportunities here for some quality training. Like it I've been blessed, like I said, just to be able to have connections that I have and be able to go everywhere, from an hour and a half away to 30 minutes away. And I know that, I can go down the 30 minutes, 40 minutes to Danville, get some solid boxing work, drive a little bit, get a little more jiu-jitsu. I've been it's a huge scene here now, I think, and it's grown. And maybe it's just because I'm within the community that I see it, but I feel like it's becoming more mainstream in this area just because there's so many now.
Now, talking about North Carolina and its MMA scene as far as regionally, you have been working with Derek Brunson, correct? As far as
Yeah.
management. Um, Tell me how that's been, and have you gained anything, as far as your MMA or outside of MMA? Because I know he's working with you as far as management, correct?
Yeah. So I feel like I've gained a lot, just we'll start with the obvious, the knowledge and connections that he has, once being in the UFC, being one of the top guys in the UFC, just the knowledge that he has about not only the sport but the promotion, is just it's next level. Two, just he's managed a couple of fighters here. He's got a couple in the UFC, but he's personal. I'm trying to word this correctly. He manages on a personal level. There we go. So he's not managing thousands of people and he's just like, oh well, you're doing good, so I'm gonna focus on you. He's got a group of fighters, a group of great fighters
Mhm.
that he's watching over and kind of guiding. And it really it shows that he cares about who he's managing. He cares about, he's not after the money like a lot of these management companies are. He's really helping out. And three, just the connections that he has within the community. So like I know any day I could go up to his gym and he's willing to get in some work with me. He's willing to put some guys on me, call some guys to help me train for this. But he's got connections closer to me. So if I don't want to drive 3.5 hours, I can drive. He just got me connected with Todd at the Matrix. And he's like, hey, if we can get some, just some stand up guidance in, just some private lessons in, and yeah, it's 30 minutes from my house. So he's been a huge help throughout all this.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you because he went to the college local over here, UNCP, and that's where I went. So
Yeah.
I had to throw that in there. But
Yeah,
um,
he's good. And along with him, my parents were my managers forever,
mhm.
until essentially until not the last fight, but the fight before that, we started talking about Derek coming in. But there I told him, I was like, the stipulation is that they still get a bit of a say, right? Like we're gonna be a team and all this. And he was like, absolutely. Like they've brought you to this point, they should have a say. And it was like I said, it goes to show that like he cares about the fighter.
Yeah.
He's not just after the check. Concerned about us.
So again, speaking more about North Carolina and whatnot, how does it feel being the pound for pound number one fighter in North Carolina and the number one featherweight in South Carolina?
So it's odd. You know, uh Dude, I'm gonna tell like I tell everybody else. I go home, I'll play some video games, watch some anime. I do dorky stuff. You don't expect to see that at the top of like a fighting ranking. Like that stuff you get bullied for in high school. But it's cool. As well as being odd, it's fulfilling to know that the work that you've put in has worked. It's nice to know that it's brought you somewhere, it's working, it's having an effect. You're not doing it for nothing. And now there's a record of it on paper or online that shows like, hey, like good job, you're doing good. And it's nice to know.
So as far as the featherweight division goes, when you do win on August 19th, we're we're manifesting it and whatnot.
Yeah, we got to manifest.
Yeah. When you win, is there a specific name that you would like to face in your debut in the UFC?
Not at all. I have no idea. Whoever they throw at me, honestly.
Uh-huh.
I'm up for a challenge, but I think the very next thing that I want to face after this fight, if I had to choose, would be right now like the biggest burger I could find.
Right.
That's probably my next opponent. But
Right.
other than
Right.
that, whoever they throw at me, I'm up for a challenge. I'm up for whoever, win, lose, or draw. I'm in there. I'm in there for the long haul. I'm in there to fight. I'm in there for entertainment. We're modern day gladiators. I feel like we're fighting for the people's pleasure. But I'm always after personal growth as well, and a challenging opponent's going to give me that. So just whoever, whenever, just let me get my burger first, and we're good.
Right. Now, how's the cut being? I don't know what you naturally sit at. So how's the cut featherweight?
It hasn't been horrible so far. We've hit our bumps. I
Mhm.
don't walk insanely heavy like you hear about. I guess the most common, you hear a lot about it in the 55 division, but you hear like your Patty Pimblets, right? I'm not getting up to 200 pounds, or like the 45 division, Ilia Topuria. I think what was it, his last featherweight fight, he walked in the cage at like 174. Like I'm not doing that. I probably on like a really, really unhealthy day, I'm like 170. But we started to cut that back about 3 months ago. Now we're a little over 10 pounds out. So we're gradually working our way down. It's nothing horrible. I'm a fat kid at heart. So I love healthy foods. Don't like I will eat every bit of healthy food you put in front of me. But if you were to put that healthy food in front of me and then a pizza beside it, like
I
one's getting
understand.
eaten and the other's collecting flies.
Mhm. Now you did just speak about Ilia Topuria. How did you feel about his last fight?
Listen, I'm gonna say this, and I'll probably still feel this way once we do make it to. I don't want to like him. I don't because, and the only thing is, it's nothing against him. He's knocking out everyone's favorites.
Exactly.
However, he's knocking out everyone's favorites. How do you hate him? How do you dislike the guy? Like I'm such a fan of him. And I'm not going to be on here and say he's humble, but he's not the most cocky guy you've ever seen.
Mhm.
And the little bit of talk he does before the fight, he backs it up,
He does.
with flying colors. So you don't I like Ilia Topuria. Do I like that he's knocking out all these guys that are grown to like? No. Do I like that he's finding success in the sport that he's clearly good at? Absolutely. Keep it up. Do your thing.
Yeah, I was talking to some other people, man, and like you said, I genuinely can't hate him. I
Yeah.
can't. He's a great fighter. It's just he's knocking out everybody that I love. you know.
Yeah.
But well, no, I'll ask you that at the end. For anybody that wants to get into MMA or any type of combat sport, like jiu-jitsu or kickboxing, boxing, whatever, do you have any advice for them as far as maybe they're scared to get into it?
Uh, it's kind of dumb, but my advice is full send it, right? Do it. Because if you sit back and you keep telling yourself tomorrow, 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 it's always going to be tomorrow. It's never going to be today, and we're going to keep making excuses. And then that's when, you get into it finally when you're 45, 50 years old and you're like, man, I should have started this earlier. Yeah, you should have, right? But it's one, find the right gym, right? So don't full send on the first gym you find. Do your research first. Because I'm not going to say a lot of gyms, but there's some gyms out there that aren't healthy environments. They're bad, multitude of ways. But do your research, find a good gym. Shamelessly shout out Tommy Cuozzi, MMA and fitness. But aside from that, find a good gym. Make sure you're surrounded by good people who are going to not only give you positivity, but are gonna give you things to help you grow as a person, as a martial artist, and just full send it. Like I said, just don't let the little fear or whatever's holding you back from doing it, don't let that hold you back. Full send it, try it. If you don't like it, cool. It's not for everybody. It should be for everybody. Everyone should know how to defend themselves at least,
Mhm.
but it's not for everybody. So just try it.
Now, talking about, starting MMA, how did you end up starting combat sports? I don't know whether you just jumped into MMA or if you were wrestling or boxing or whatever. How did that start?
So MMA was the start of it. I was right before I turned 9. I got into it. I found this gym in the area and we are like, you want to try it? And every 8, 9-year-old boy wants to be Spider-Man, a Power Ranger, Goku, Naruto, one of them, right?
Hmm.
So I was no different. So that was the coolest thing ever. So I stopped baseball and football, went right into MMA and fell in love with it. So it's just something to do after school. And then eventually we started progressing and getting a little bit better. And by the time I was 14, my coach at the time had asked me if I wanted to fight. And, made sure the parents were cool with it. But once they were like, yeah, go for it. So we hopped in and it's the rest is history.
At 14, you said you were fighting what? In competition, tournament, or
So, I had done, I think, 1 to 3 jiu-jitsu tournaments by that point. But when I turned 14, when he asked me to fight, it was an MMA fight. So now I would go against somebody under 18. But so this was in Virginia at the time, and back in these days, is for Fight Night Challenge, and it was the coolest thing ever. But my fights were essentially full rules MMA fights. They counted on my record, so they weren't semi-ammies or anything. The only thing we couldn't do was elbow and knee, but that was until my fourth fight, it was a junior title fight, and they were like, "Hey, do you guys want to throw elbows and knees?" And we are like, "Yeah," and they were like, "Go for it." But it was lawless back then, and it was sick though because it gave me good experience, I think, for what I do now.
so would you encourage, say, kids at that age that are interested in MMA, would you encourage that what you did at your age? Would you encourage that for parents and kids that want to do that?
I have mixed feelings on it because I feel like for me, I have less of a sense of preservation than I have for like, I teach my kids class. I wouldn't want to go in there and like tell my kids class like, "Hey, full rules MMA fight right now." But once you're on the other side of it, it's weird. But I would recommend definitely smokers and experimenting with different rule sets. Like go as close to an MMA fight as you can with the safety precautions because we don't want CTE too early,
Yeah.
right? Later on in life, cool, but we don't want that now. Especially you're still developing, you're still growing, not only physically but mentally. We don't want to stunt any of that. And I was lucky enough to be able to come out of it, to my perspective, unscathed. A lot of my friends may say otherwise, but I would say definitely find different smokers, find different semi-ammies with as close to the rule set as you can to prepare for that, to prepare for the spotlight, the pressure, everything. And then once you get to that right age, full send.
So you spoke about how, the first one I believe you said was in Virginia, correct?
Yeah.
So you're originally not from North Carolina.
Right. So I was born in New York, but only lived there for like 2 years.
Yeah.
And then we moved to North Carolina. So essentially from North Carolina. I count those 2 years in New York because it's cool to say,
Yeah.
but I don't have any memories from that time.
Yeah. So how long did you stay in Virginia?
So I never stayed in Virginia.
You
We
just
just
had to
fought
find
in
there.
Virginia. Yeah.
Okay, got you. I got you.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So I know this is going to be, a while from now, but when you eventually retire from fighting in MMA, what do you see yourself doing? I know, well, I would assume that you would still be coaching or you would want to do some type of coaching, but is there anything else that you would want to go into after your career?
Dude, if I could be like a taste tester for restaurants, that would no, coaching. I've got some, like I said, I do my kids class now. I'm one of the head coaches at my gym. So, got some up and coming fighters. But just staying in the scene, I'd like to get into jiu-jitsu after I retire from fighting. I do jiu-jitsu competitions now. I tell them it's for funsies, win, lose, or draw. I'm going in, I'm testing my skills against other black belts at this point. And, I see what I need to work on. I see where I'm good at. And, it's just for funsies. And so I think after I retire from mixed martial arts, I'd like to lean more into that, especially where UFC's got the jiu-jitsu promotion now. I think that's the coolest thing. But after fighting, I think I'd like to kind of meld more into that and see what we can do. Still training our stand up, getting everything tighter. There's always room for growth.
Mhm. Yeah, I was just about to ask you that. Once you said jiu-jitsu, I was going to ask you how you felt about the UFC bringing that in. And I was going to ask you if you've seen the title fight.
Dude, I think it's sick. I haven't gotten a chance to watch the title fight other than like little highlights on Instagram. But you're talking about the one with Mikey Musumeci, right?
Uh-huh.
He's elite. Like there's no other word for it. He's just amazing.
Mhm.
I watched him go against a guy that I know, and the guy that I know is like really good. Like I've seen him compete, and he's insane. And Mikey's Mikey. He did his thing, and it's crazy to watch. But no, anything with him is sick. I like his you know,
Yeah.
I love that for him. Real G's move in silence like lasagna, but he's sick.
So after your MMA career, if this is possible, because I don't know if it's possible, would you maybe want to transition into the UFC BJJ side of things, if that's possible and you're at a good age to do it?
Yeah, if that's possible and I'm still healthy at that point and still at a good age, I think that'd be awesome to do. And I think too, with it being the same, company promotion, I think it would be not a super hard transition to make.
Yeah.
So it would make sense.
So, hopefully in the future, after you get your win and you're in the UFC and whatnot, and you eat your burger, I can come down there and we can do an actual in person interview like we initially planned.
Dude, that would be awesome if we could. That would be fantastic.
But yeah, thank you again for spending some time with me and allowing me to interview you for the channel. Tommy,
Dude, thank you for finding the time. I appreciate it.
there you go. Because I'm trying to, I don't know, man. It was a little difficult on my end, but I don't know. But yeah, thank you again for coming on. August 19th, you will be fighting for your
Yes.
contract on the Dana White Contender Series. Everybody that's watching, go check that out. Tommy, if you have anything you want to plug, anything you're working on, your social medias, whatever, go ahead and do that.
Listen, if you wanna follow me on Instagram, follow this journey, watch me get hit in the face some. tvcjr.mma on Instagram. On Facebook, like my fight page, Tommy Little T Cuozzi. Shout out, first and foremost, we talked about it earlier, but God above all, he brought me here. He's guided me on this journey, and I'm excited to see where he takes me next. But yeah, everybody at Kamikaze MMA and Fitness, Gracie Burlington, The Matrix, Lux Boxing Gym, Capital MMA and Fitness. So many people, or so many gyms, and the people there have come to help me and support me throughout all this. My family, my wonderful wife, they're my backbone of all this. Derek Brunson, along with Derek Brunson's MMA and Fitness. Sorry, there's a lot of gyms that have helped me. But you know, all my sponsors, Toro, BJJ, Eden Chiropractic, Pro Therapy Concepts. I've got you know, these shirts on the back of the shirt. There's an entire list of just people who supported me throughout all this, and it's just, you know, I couldn't do it without anybody.
Well, all right, man. Hey, thank you again for coming on and spending some time. And I really do appreciate it, man. So thank you
Yes, sir.
again,
Thank you.
and we'll end it here, I reckon. So, and hopefully we can do it in person, and we can
Yeah,
we can
we'll
get
eat a
that
burger
game.
together.
Yeah. Well, all right, brother. Thank you again.
All right, man. Thank you.